The afternoon heat beat down on the dusty edge of a Midwestern equipment yard as a group of certified mechanics gathered around a stalled hay baler. It was a foreign model, newer than anything they'd handled before, and as temperamental as a tired mule. Wrenches clanked. Someone cursed. Another wiped sweat from his brow and muttered, "This thing ain't budging." For over 3 hours, they'd tried everything, replacing relays, draining fluids, resetting the digital interface, but nothing worked. Their boss paced nervously. A delivery truck was due tomorrow, and if the baler didn't run, the entire harvest would be delayed. That's when a soft voice came from the edge of the crowd. "I can try, if that's okay?" Heads turned. A girl barely 16 stood there in oversized coveralls, her sleeves rolled up, a small tool pouch hanging from her belt. Her face was smudged with light grease, her boots scuffed. Someone chuckled. "You lost, sweetheart?" Cassie took a step forward, steady but humble. "No, sir. My dad was a mechanic. I helped him fix a combine just like this one before he passed." Another mechanic scoffed. "This isn't a toy. This is precision tech." But their boss, out of options, raised a hand. "Let her try. We've wasted a day already." The expert stepped aside, snickering. "Be our guest." Cassie approached the baler like it was familiar. She didn't yank at wires or mutter curses. She simply opened the main panel, pulled out a small flashlight, and studied the engine for a long minute. One mechanic rolled his eyes. "We've already checked the relays, sweetheart." Cassie didn't answer. She gently tapped the side of the intake, then ran her fingers along the fuel sensor casing. Her eyes narrowed. She reached into her pouch, pulled out a zip tie, a flat screwdriver, and a small rubber spacer dot. Within minutes, she adjusted the wire mount that had been incorrectly grounded. She sliced a small patch of rubber from an old glove and used it to reseat a loose connection. One of the senior mechanics scoffed. "This isn't how we do it in the field." Cassie glanced up. "That's why it hasn't worked yet." A few workers hiding their smirks now leaned in closer. She stood up, wiped her hands, and called, "Try the ignition now." A long silence. Then, one of the mechanics rolled his eyes and turned the key. The engine coughed once, twice, then roared to life with a clean, thunderous purr. Dust kicked up. Everyone froze. The engine didn't just start, it ran smoother than it had in months. The boss's mouth fell open. "No way." Cassie stepped back calmly, face blank. The intake sensor was grounded against the fan. The signal looped into the control module and confused the ignition delay. The youngest mechanic looked embarrassed. "That's actually true." One of the senior men cleared his throat. "Still, that could have just been luck." Cassie shrugged. "Luck doesn't carry a multimeter." The workers around them began to clap, first a few, then most. The certified experts watched silently as the girl tightened her gloves and walked away toward the shade. The ranch foreman approached her, pulling out a $20 bill. "You sure you don't do this for money?" She smiled slightly. "I do it because broken things deserve one more chance." That evening, as the sun set, Cassie returned to the garage her father once worked in. It was dusty and quiet now, but she laid her wrench down beside one of his old notebooks, opened a page titled "Things the Manuals Don't Teach," and scribbled one more line. "Don't be afraid of what others laugh at. Be the proof." A week after the baler incident, Cassie's name was floating around every farm, parts store, and truck stop in a 40-mile radius. Mechanics whispered about the girl with the gloves, and farmers asked at feed stores if she was taking work. But for Cassie, nothing had changed except that one morning her school principal stopped her in the hallway. "There's someone asking for you in the front office," he said. "Says he's from the regional tech board." Cassie, confused, wiped her hands on her jeans. She'd been in shop class, rewiring a busted weed trimmer. When she stepped Into the office, a tall man in a polo and glasses greeted her. "Cassie Brooks?" he asked. "I'm organizing the Youth Mechanics Invitational this weekend." "We heard about what you did at Nolan Ranch," she blinked. "I didn't enter." He smiled. "Someone else did. Your name came up 5 times. You're in." The event took place in a cavernous hangar near the state fairgrounds, gleaming concrete. Harsh overhead lights and rows of workstations lined with engines, tool carts, and blinking screens. Cassie stood at the entrance, carrying her father's old toolbox and wearing his patch jacket again. She looked out of place among the sea of crisp jumpsuits, embroidered logos, and sponsored gear bags. Most of the other contestants were boys from tech academies and vocational institutes, some already working with repair crews. One glanced at her toolbox and whispered, "That thing looks like it belongs in a museum." She ignored him. A loudspeaker crackled to life. "Competitors, begin Phase 1. The first challenge involved diagnosing and repairing a stalling ignition on a diesel generator. Each station had identical faults, but only one would be timed live for demonstration. "Station 12, the announcer said. "Cassie Brooks, you're up first." She didn't flinch. As she approached the generator, a camera hovered nearby for the crowd's display screen. The fault was subtle, a corroded starter ground and a misfiring coil. While others might have gone straight to the battery, Cassie crouched low, placing her hand on the frame for vibration and listening. Then she followed the wiring with her eyes, tracing the path from fuse to relay like it was muscle memory. She opened her box, pulled a strip of sandpaper, cleaned the corrosion, reseated the coil connector, and asked for the key. It started in under 2 minutes. The audience gasped. One judge leaned forward. Did she skip the diagnostic tool? Another replied, she didn't need it. Cassie walked back to her table. The boy who mocked her toolbox earlier now looked away, red-faced. The second phase introduced a hybrid transmission module, the kind used in modern farm equipment. It was known for error codes that didn't always make sense, and most competitors used tablets loaded with software to decipher it. Cassie didn't own a tablet. She stood silently for a moment, studying the blinking lights. Then she removed the fuse for 15 seconds, reset the power module, and ran the auto-calibrate manually. The screen cleared. No errors, judges murmured. Again, she just cleared a ghost code sequence without software. Another said, that's something you only learn in the field. Meanwhile, a few contestants still fumbled with manuals, trying to navigate menus. Cassie kept her head down, focused. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She just wanted to solve the problem like her father had taught her. After the final round, she sat on the curb outside the building, sipping a root beer and trying to calm her nerves. She didn't care about trophies. She just wanted to fix machines that others gave up on. A woman approached her from the crowd mid-40s with dusty boots and a notepad. I run a repair network that works with farms in 3 states, she sighed. We mentor under 25 techs who show promise. Most of them come from formal programs, but you think outside the socket wrench. Cassie raised an eyebrow. You want me? The woman smiled. You're not certified, but your engines speak for you. She handed over a card and walked away. The offer stunned Cassie, not because it came, but because it meant her dad's notebooks. Her quiet nights learning alone were finally turning into something real. That night, Cassie returned home, placed the event badge next to her father's photo, and whispered, I didn't win anything big. But someone noticed. Her mother watched from the doorway. He would have been so proud, Cassie smiled faintly. Maybe I'll go further than he ever could. Not because I'm better, but because he gave me a head start. Out in the key garage, the baler she fixed still purred like a loyal dog whenever tested. But now, Another machine waited as second-hand a TV with a jammed throttle. Cassie rolled up her sleeves. "Let's see what you're hiding."